Hello lovelies, welcome back to Moments with Bia, where we initiate change with purpose. Today I want to talk to you about shame during infertility and what to do about it. But before we dive into the content, make sure you subscribe so you get notified every time I post a new video, which is every Wednesday. And the way to do that is to click the notify button, which is next to the subscribe button. Now, before you continue watching this video, there's one thing that I want you to keep in mind as you're watching, and that is shame, just like jealousy, is very natural. It is normal. It is part of human nature. So to experience it as you're going through infertility is very, very normal. Now, shame is sort of related a little bit to jealousy, and I talked about jealousy in the previous video. I can link it below in the description if you would like to watch that. But it is sort of related to jealousy in such that when you feel jealous, you also feel ashamed of feeling jealous. But in today's video, I want to talk to you about shame in a little bit of a different context. Shame is not necessarily one of those feelings that you can think of when you think of infertility. Feelings such as feeling sad, depressed, jealous, disappointed. It is a little bit of a hidden emotion. It is sort of one of those emotions that you have to dig in a little bit before you can identify it and address it for what it is. Now, starting from myself, and all of these videos that I make, they basically come from my personal experience. So when I was going through infertility and I started feeling shame, actually I don't really know when I started feeling shame. It's kind of hard to identify that moment when, okay, now from this point on, I feel shame as I go through infertility, but everybody experiences shame in a different way. And so as I share this with you, as I share my experience with you, and I tell you what I did to address shame when I was going through infertility, I'm very interested to know if this resonates with some of you watching. So if what I share with you resonates with you, if you find yourself in what I am about to share with you, please let me know, because I think the way I experienced shame as I was going through infertility is a little bit, I don't want to say uncommon, but I don't know that, it's necessarily a way that you would think of that you're experiencing shame as you go through infertility. So, but anyhow, here it goes. So it took me a long time to actually figure out that what I was feeling was shame based on the actions that I was doing that I didn't realize I was doing until I started doing all this work on myself in order to navigate through all the struggles with infertility. But so what I would do is in social settings, or when I was with friends, or even acquaintances, people that I didn't necessarily know that well, and the topic of having kids or being a mom came up, and I was either asked or it was time for me to participate in the conversation, I would throw in comments such as, I'm not ready to have kids, and I'm having so much fun right now. We still have time. I mean, these days women have children later in life. I don't necessarily feel ready to have children, and we're still having fun and going out and partying and this and that. But that was so far from the truth when I would say these things that it was literally, technically, a lie. Because anyone who knew me, anyone who knows me, they know that, number one, I love children. Number two, I love being a mom. And they would always say to me, oh my gosh, you would be such a great mom. You're so good with kids. And I knew that, and I was okay with that. And I was ready to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom. But for the purposes of all of these conversations when I was going through infertility, I started making these comments to simply stop people in their track from approaching further further conversations such as, oh, you know, it's, if I said something like, oh, it's taking a while, you know, we're trying, but it's taking a while, I wanted to stop them from assuming that I was going through infertility. I can't really explain why. I don't understand necessarily why I didn't want people to know that I was going through infertility or to assume that I was going through infertility. But I do know now that it was all stemming up from the emotion of shame. And so I discovered that I was actually ashamed to admit to myself that there was something going on, that there was something that was not working, that was the reason that I was not having children yet. And so it was very, very hard to admit that. And but once I did, once I admitted, and once I was able to acknowledge that emotion as well, just like the emotion of jealousy and the emotion of disappointment, I was then able to do something about it. And so what I did about it is also maybe something that isn't necessarily conventional or advice that you may hear somewhere else. But I want to share this with you because it was very, very helpful for me, and it had a huge impact, positive impact on my journey. And I will tell you how it had positive impact in just a minute. But what I did was literally, and it is so simple when I tell you what it was, it can also feel odd at first, it can feel silly, and it may take you a few tries to actually get used to doing it. But what I did was I would look straight in the mirror and I would literally say this statement: this is infertility. This is not my life. This is part of my life, but it is not my life. So every day I would actually say this statement in front of the mirror. I wanted to be able to look at myself when I was talking to myself, because I wanted to look at myself when I was addressing shame directly to myself. And so it definitely felt silly at first. It felt almost like fake when I would say that. I didn't necessarily believe it, but I kept doing it. And so if you decide to do this, if you decide to try this technique, I really strongly suggest that you give yourself a little more time, probably a little bit longer than a week or 2 weeks, maybe even a month. Maybe you can give yourself a month. And keep in mind, if you're really persistent with this and you do it every day, it's probably going to take less time before you can actually see the effect of this exercise or technique or whatever you want to call it. And if you do it maybe, I don't know, every other day, or you forget to do it today, you'll do it tomorrow, then you forget tomorrow, and it kind of turns out you only did it twice this week, it will definitely take longer before you notice any changes. But where this was really, really helpful for me was that I was able to literally address shame in such a way that it didn't really bother me any longer, that I didn't feel the need to come up with these untrue, right? Untrue statements about why I was not having children yet. And I was able to more openly discuss the topic of infertility with my close family and friends. Now, I still wasn't able to fully and openly discuss my infertility with just anyone, just as I'm doing right now. I was not at that point by doing this technique, but I was at least at the point where I no longer felt the need to come up with these fake scenarios as to why I wasn't having children, in order to steer people away from assuming that I was going through infertility, because I was going through infertility. And so slowly, by being able to talk about my infertility, I was also helping myself go through all the struggles with infertility and have more friends who understood what I was going through. And I don't necessarily know if it was that they understood what I was going through, but they were at least supportive, because they knew because I told them about my infertility, and you know, they knew that I was going through something. Whereas before, they didn't know I was going through something, so that they can be supportive. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that this video helps you on your journey through infertility. And if you did find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And again, let me know below in the comments, as I ask in every video. I'm really curious, do you feel shame as you go through infertility? Do you feel any way inadequate as you go through infertility? And how do you deal with that? Do you have a thing that you do? Do you have a technique that you use? How do you deal with feeling shame during infertility? Or maybe you don't feel shame during infertility. How is that like for you as well? Let me know below in the comments. I'm really interested in what your story is as well. So thank you very much again for watching. I really appreciated that you took the time to go through this video and watch it. And please remember, between this and next video, to initiate change with purpose in every area of your life, including infertility. Until the next video, ciao!